My wife secretly planned to take over my business with her family. So I fired her and filed for divorce. I'm a 38-year-old guy who built a business from the ground up. I didn't come from money, didn't get any handouts, and barely made it through college because I was working 2 jobs to pay for it. But I was ambitious, and a few years after I graduated, I started my own small company. The work wasn't glamorous, but I was good at it, and by the time I turned 30, I'd made a decent name for myself. That was around the time I met Laura. At first, things were great. Laura was supportive, smart, and had this charm that just drew people to her. She was there when I was still building, cheering me on through the long hours and late nights. I thought she understood the work it took, how much I'd put into making this business real. I'd been single a while, and I really believed she was the kind of person who'd stand by me. But over the years, little things started to feel off. Her support became more like an expectation that everything I was doing was for us, not just me. Her family started coming around more, too, and they didn't just drop by for a casual visit. It was always about the business. Her younger brother, Justin especially, was one of those types who couldn't hold down a job, but still thought he knew how to run things better than everyone else. He dropped out of college, spent a few years finding himself, and ended up working odd jobs until he landed on my doorstep, pitching ideas as if he was the next Steve Jobs. And here's where it gets complicated. See, it's one thing to have family give you advice, even if it's not great advice. But Justin wasn't giving advice. He was hinting that he should have a spot in the business. Laura started in with these little suggestions like, maybe Justin could help out with the marketing side, or it wouldn't hurt to give him a shot. I tried to be nice about it at first, politely reminding her that Justin had no background in business or marketing. But she didn't let it go, and over time, her hints started turning into accusations. Why don't you respect my family? You act like you're better than them. I brushed it off as best I could, because I figured it would pass. But it didn't. First, her family began throwing my business's name around. They'd use it to get access to events, even sending emails as if they were representing us. I only found out because a few colleagues asked me if I was expanding into a new market. I had to explain that no, those were Lara's family members, and they weren't actually part of my business. Then they started showing up to our house like it was some kind of boardroom. I'd come home, and her dad would be sitting in my living room, talking about what I should be doing. Justin would bring up exciting opportunities he wanted to pitch, saying I was missing out by not bringing him in. Her mother even suggested we rebrand with a family crest, something they'd had designed without asking me. This wasn't advice. It was like they were rewriting my business as if it was theirs. Things hit a whole new level when Justin actually started contacting my clients. He'd somehow gotten their information and reached out with ideas, offering services I'd never even discussed with him, let alone approved. Clients started calling confused, asking if we were expanding. That's when I realized this was beyond a family quirk. This was interference. I confronted Laura about it, and she played it off like it was no big deal. He's just helping out, she said. He's trying to show you what he can bring to the table. I told her this wasn't his place. He was putting my business reputation on the line, but she just didn't seem to get it. Or maybe she didn't want to. Then came the moment I couldn't ignore. My business partner, Alex, who'd been with me since the early days, pulled me aside. He'd overheard Laura on the phone with her mom, talking about how we're going to make some changes. He said she mentioned putting family in the right spots and ensuring control. I brushed it off, thinking Alex was reading too much into it. But it was enough to make me start paying closer attention. And that's when I saw it. Little changes that added up. Laura started showing up at my office randomly, unannounced. She'd walk around, chatting with employees as if she was doing some kind of audit. My staff told me they were uncomfortable, that she was asking a lot of questions about how they liked working for me and if they thought I was fair. She even started bringing her family to the office for tours, asking my employees if they'd considered a fresh perspective in the company. It was ridiculous, but at the time, I didn't have any proof that she was planning anything serious. Still, the gut feeling was there. One day, I found unauthorized charges on my business accounts, charges that led straight to Justin. He'd been racking up expenses under the guise of research. When I asked Laura about it, she shrugged it off, saying it was for business growth. I couldn't believe the nerve. She was funneling money to her brother without even asking me. This was too much. I decided to confront her at a family dinner she'd set up. It was one of those we're all here to support each other type gatherings, except I knew exactly what her family's support looked like. So there we all were, eating in this uncomfortable silence, and I waited until Justin started in on his usual, "You're missing out on real opportunities" speech. I put down my fork and looked him dead in the eyes. "Justin, you're done. Don't ever show up at my office, don't ever touch my clients, and don't ever use my company's name again." The table went silent. Lara looked at me, stunned. I turned to her and said, "You've been taking money from the company, bringing your family in behind my back, and undermining everything I've worked for. We're done." She started trying to defend herself, saying it was all done with good intentions, that her family just wanted to help, and that I was overreacting. I told her this was more than help. It was sabotage. I was done listening to excuses. I was done with all of it. The next day, I filed for divorce. You'd think they'd leave me alone, right? Wrong. Lara and her family kept pushing, even after I filed. They started demanding compensation for emotional damages, saying I'm owed them for the years they'd supported the business. Her mom actually itemized every holiday, every family meeting they'd held in my house, as if I'd somehow charged up a bill just by being married to their daughter. They even claimed that hosting family dinners had somehow been a contribution to the company. And it didn't stop there. Justin tried to trademark my business name. He figured he could hold it over me, make me pay him to get it back. My lawyer sorted that out pretty quickly, but the audacity of it was mind-blowing. They even tried to drag mutual friends into it, making me out to be some ungrateful monster who'd turned his back on family values. They leaned on everyone who'd ever been to our house, even went after people who'd done work for the company, trying to turn them against me. It was like they thought if they couldn't have a piece of my business, they'd ruin my reputation instead. The worst was when Lara's father hired a so-called business consultant to arrange a fair settlement. This consultant, an old friend of her dad's with no actual qualifications, presented a profit-sharing plan that would have given her family a permanent stake in my company. He said it was fair because they'd invested emotionally over the years. It was like they'd invented this fantasy where they were co-founders or something. I laughed him out of my office and made it clear I'd go to court if I had to. The divorce was finalized after months of legal back and forth. Lara didn't get anywhere close to what she was asking for. I got the business locked down in my name, with ironclad terms to make sure she and her family couldn't interfere anymore. After that, I moved the company to a new office location, one her family had no connection to. I made things right with my employees, who'd been left confused and uncomfortable by Lara's family's constant intrusions. I made sure they knew that kind of nonsense was over, gave everyone better benefits and raises, and showed them I appreciated their loyalty through the entire mess. Since then, I've kept my personal life and business life as separate as possible. I don't let anyone, family, friends, anyone, mix in with my work. I learned the hard way that even those closest to you can see what you've built as theirs to take. If they sense an inch of weakness, they'll push it until they've carved out a piece for themselves. Looking back, it's wild how blind I was to all of it. I thought Lara understood what it took to build something from scratch, but she and her family only saw it as a stepping stone. They didn't care about the sweat, the late nights, the sacrifices. They saw my success as something they could latch onto, reshape, and ultimately control. It was never enough that I'd built it. I had to hand it over. Once the dust settled, I cut ties with anyone who'd supported Lara's side or bought into her family's narrative. It was eye-opening, honestly. People I thought were friends showed their true colors during that divorce. Some of them tried to stay neutral, pretending like it was none of their business when they knew what she and her family were up to. Those friendships didn't survive. I learned that if someone can stand by while you're being torn down, they're not really a friend. I moved on, rebuilt, and in a way found a new sense of purpose. I poured myself into my work, expanded the business even further, and focused on building an environment where my employees knew they were valued. After everything, I wanted to make sure the people who genuinely stood by me knew they were part of something worthwhile. No gimmicks, no entitlements, just hard work and mutual respect. Over time, I found peace in knowing I'd come out stronger. And that's something Lara and her family could never take from me. They might have tried to play the family card, tried to manipulate, lie, and cheat their way into my life and my business. But I came out the other side. They're the ones who'll spend the rest of their lives looking for a shortcut, expecting things to be handed to them. And me? I'll keep building what's mine, surrounded by people who understand what it means to truly earn their place. I guess that's the moral of this whole mess. Success isn't just about the money, the recognition, or even the business itself. It's about staying true to what got you there. I might have lost a marriage, but I kept my dignity, my values, and the one thing I poured my life into. And to me, that's worth more than any so-called family loyalty they could have offered.